Welcome to the 7 Quotes Whip podcast, where softball's greatest minds share the quotes that have shaped their lives, fueled their motivation, and guided their leadership. Each episode explores 7 handpicked quotes highlighting life lessons, personal philosophies, and game day mantras. I'm your host, Jamie Oikel, and joining me for the debut episode of 7 Quotes Whip is Coach Laura Ricciardone of Yale Softball. Welcome, Coach Laura.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I really appreciate you having me on.
Well, listen, I'm super excited to debut this project, and I know for a fact that you'll be the perfect guest to kick the show off with. So for full disclosure, folks, my daughter does play with Coach Laura at Yale, and so we know each other a little bit, but I think we're going to get to know a lot more about you and your philosophies today through your quotes, which are great, by the way. So
thank you.
I can't say exactly when this episode will air, but before we get to the quotes, let's touch on opening weekend. Just happened, invitational down in Texas. How was the build up to the season? Quick takeaways from week 1. What do you got?
Yeah, definitely. The team is always just so excited to head to some warmer weather for weekends 1, basically through 2 or 3. And of course, Texas threw us a little bit of a curveball with some weather in weekend 1 and had to change the schedule around. But the team was awesome, really adaptable, and lost some games, added some games, and was able to get in 5, which was awesome in weekend 1. And a lot of softball, got to get a lot of firsts under our belt, right? First years making first starts, first hits for some of our younger players, and just a lot of learning moments through the 5 games that I think are going to serve us really well in the long game. But we're back to it actually today, even for game day. So this time of year is wonderful because it's just so game heavy, and get to see on the field and the competition aspect what the kids have been working towards, for the last 6 months, and get to put it all together a little bit more each time we get out there.
Well, it was weird. Texas did not disappointed with the weather, because I think it was 75 before we got there, and it was 75 after we left. But that first game day was like 29 degrees. It was chilly. But let's go to quote number 1 here. What do you got?
Yeah, the first quote that I chose was, "If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room." It's something that my mother actually used to say to us quite often, and something that I think really shaped our just family values and who we are as a family group, and the value of education within our family, and things like that. So it's always something that stuck with me. I think Richard Feynman was the real, author of this quote, but for me, it makes me think of my mother. And she was the first in her family to go to college. She was a teacher, and just education was something that really shaped the values in her life, and she certainly passed that on to us as her kids, and something that has stuck with me all throughout, as a student, player, and now as a coach. I think it's really easy to think best, right? And when you're in positions that you're the expert in situations, but I really try to value surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, and seek out spaces with people that I can learn from, and always looking to add tools to my toolbox along the way. And I think this quote's been something that's really helped shape that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this one. I've seen it. I've seen it in a few spots. And hey, you mentioned your mom growing up. Okay, what is your first softball memory? Like, how old were you, think?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's feels like a lifetime ago at this point. But I started playing, the usual t-ball, and worked my way up from there in Little League, and probably started taking it a bit more seriously when I was about 10, and started getting into pitching. I was a pitcher in college, and my mom was just my biggest fan, and all of my brothers as well, and all the sports. We all played multiple sports, but softball obviously stuck for me. And my dad was my coach, similar to you, Jamie, coaching Caitlin and Morgan. But for me, it's my mom was really the super fan behind it. My dad might have been the coach, but my mom was the one that was, really entrenched with the local players where they went on to college, and always keeping tabs and things like that. So I think that she was always the anchor for us in our family. And even though my dad might've been in the thick of it more so as our coach, and on game day, things like that, it was, my mom at the end of the day behind the scenes.
Well, I saw your dad even out there this weekend. He travels around, he follows you around. He's a big supporter still. He enjoys it.
He does. He's, taught me how to write my first lineup card as a kid, and just is over the moon that I'm a college softball coach. And I've got two brothers that, both have wonderful professional careers. And my dad is just, I think, infatuated with Yale softball and being able to follow the team and watch, games and get to know the players. And he really does enjoy watching the course of their careers and following us around and making trips down to Texas.
Yeah. Exciting. Well, let's go to quote number 2. This is from the Bible, I believe. What do you got?
It is, yeah. It's count it all joy. It's a verse from the Bible, and certainly that has some attribution to it for why I chose it. But I think more so, I love the perspective of it. It's something that I think really is a lesson that many can take with them, to count it all joy and just keep that perspective through trials and difficulties that may come. It's something that we talk a lot about within Yale softball, even from a play with joy perspective. We have these pillars called what it means to wear the Y, and play with joy is one of them. And for me, when I first became the head coach and was, setting this culture that we wanted to build and what we wanted to be right in this program, that was something that was really important to me, stemming from this quote, that the ability to adapt and keep perspective, right, of things that may be happening in your life right now, and being able to play the long game and handle the hardships that come, because certainly softball is filled with them and moments of failure, but life beyond, for these 18 to 22-year-olds that are within our program for 4 years on campus, but we're trying to prepare them with tools to succeed and, live these wonderful, happy, healthy, successful lives well beyond. And I think that this count it all joy, and within Yale softball, this play with joy sort of mantra really sticks and is helpful for times when they get hard, with being college.
Yeah. It's a good reminder to everybody, right? Just this idea of, but joy, but also just being grateful, right?
Yep.
Being grateful for where you are. We all have challenges in life, every single stage.
Exactly.
Usually when you back out there, my book somewhere, it's not on this library because we moved a little bit, but don't sweat the small stuff, right? Usually when we think things are big, usually they're really small problems, but they feel big in the moment. So, but then what can we be grateful for? What can we be grateful for? What can we show joy for? So I love that. You hinted at the playing career. So you had a stellar playing career at Harvard, pitching, jumped right into coaching, I believe, or tell me. And so how did you end up going from player to coach, to assistant coach, to head coach at Yale, which is arguably a rival, you might say?
I have certainly taken some flack for this and sort of being on the other side of this rivalry, but I couldn't be more thrilled to be in this position and have the opportunity. I choose that word, intentionally, because I really do view it as that, the opportunity to have the relationships that I do with our players. And coaching is something I always knew I wanted to get into, even when I was an undergrad at Harvard. And I would do recruiting filing, even when I was a student athlete, and always work any camps I could be a part of, and just always wanted to be involved in the recruiting process of players and hosting and anything I could do to get a glimpse of the other side of it. So right after I graduated, I was an assistant at Boston University for Ashley Waters, who was actually one of my assistant coaches when I was a player. So right when I graduated, she got her first head coaching job at Boston U, and in her first year hired me, who just graduated, as one of her assistants. So it was, an immediate transition and opportunity to get involved in the Division I level, which I'm so thankful for, and just learn a ton and be able to just jump right into it, which I think is uncommon, and be able to take advantage of the opportunities that I was presented with. And I was there for a year, and then I went down to the University of South Florida, where I was an assistant coach for 3 years, with Ken Erickson being the head coach. And I can say very confidently that I wouldn't be the coach or person that I am today without the 3-year experience that I had with Ken. I left Ken and University of South Florida to come be one of the assistants at Yale for 3 years prior to becoming the head coach at Yale, where this is year 3, believe it or not, going into year 3, middle of it, being the head coach here. So just really lucky to have, been impacted by so many really successful coaches in my career, even though it's only, I guess, year 10 of my college coaching career. I've been really lucky to have stops along the way with some really top coaches, in NCAA Division I softball. So a lot of impact really quickly in the course of my young career.
Yeah, I think we're going to touch a little bit more on USF and
Yeah.
Coach Erickson in a bit, so that's going to be good to get into. Question though, memories from softball? Any key highlights? Any key moments that you remember as a player?
Yeah, as a player, one in particular. My junior year of college, we went down to LSU for a tournament when I was a junior, and it was right the year after my mom had was diagnosed with advanced stage colon cancer when I was in college, and early in my college career, passed away my senior year in my college career. But my junior year, we went down to LSU to play, and we beat LSU in a tournament in a 14-inning game.
Wow.
Just like a really wonderful full circle moment that my mom was in the stands, a lot of my extended family, because I'm from Louisiana. So just a really cool full circle situation that, the universe aligned for this. And so that's always something that I remember fondly, because it was near the end of my mom's life, and had the ability for extended family to be there and get to see us. And just to be back in my home state, being able to compete was just a joy.
Yeah, that's a special moment. I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't know that part of your story.
Yeah.
As well. Sorry to hear that. Let's slide to this. This is really a good one that I think everyone will be familiar with. Quote number 3 from Alice in Wonderland. What do you got?
Yeah, it's like you're saying, a quote from this excerpt between the Queen and Alice, and it's the Queen saying this, that sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. And it's just this idea of, I think, 2 things. One, that earlier in the quote, she says, you have to practice this, right? And practice this for a half hour a day, believing these impossible things. And I think that's one aspect of the longer quote that I really enjoy. And the second being just this sort of like childlike wonder aspect of it all. I think that particularly for even my life here with Yale softball, the student athletes are so challenged in every facet of their life here that I think it's really necessary to provide an outlet for that, right, via softball. And it's not to say we don't work really hard. We do. I think your daughter would attest to that, and have really intense practices and all of those things. But I think I really value and really try to craft this sense of childlike play and wonder, and just sort of dreaming, right? Because it's such a place of opportunity here at Yale, and in any part of their life, not just softball, right? Their academic resources where they can get involved in different networks of people, things like that. So this quote for me, just personally, but also professionally, I think really shapes just how I push them to view, their everyday here as well.
I love it. Hey, speaking of great books, I love that you guys do sort of a book club there. You have them read the same book. You guys talk about it.
We do.
What's one of the most recent books you've done? Or if you don't want to go there, what's another book recommendation you love to share?
Yeah, no, happy to share. We do a book club. It's just what we call it. And I'm a lover of hard copy books, so I kind of force them to be a lover of hard copy books versus audiobooks or Kindles, things like that. So I send them a hard copy every summer to read prior to coming back to campus. This year, we actually read 2 because I couldn't choose and wanted to be able to do both. So one of them the first one was Legacy. It's the story of the All Blacks, the rugby team. And it's just a really wonderful commentary on sort of the dynamics of a successful championship program and how that's sustained over time. And I thought it would be really valuable for where our program is at right now to learn, discuss, engage with, things like that. And then most recently we read It Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad. It's a book that discusses neutral thinking, and the values of that within specifically the context of athletics, but certainly it's this just as valuable within life as well.
Nice. Yeah, I know. I remember another one was Grit, which
that was last year.
I had read before. Caitlin read, she's like, I'm reading this. So we were reading the same book. book around the same time.
I love that.
Which was good. But all right, so let's go to this one, which I love. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack, from Rudyard Kipling. And this fits perfectly for you.
It does. Yeah. For sort of goes back to, I keep referencing this sort of document of what it means to wear the Y. It's these pillars that this program is built on, and something that we discuss immediately and frequently throughout the year here. And I interchange the words wolf for dog, given the Bulldogs. But for Yale softball, this is, if I had to pick one thing we're built on, it's this, and being able to, I think, rely on the strength of your community, and also give to that community, right? It's very much a two-way street. And we discuss a lot, leaving the program better than you found it. And I think that this quote really captures the essence of that, and the just focus, right, as a group, and what the team goal is at any given point of the year, and the ability to support each other when that is easy, but also on the really difficult days, and when that gets a little bit harder, to just center us back with this quote.
Yeah, and I know you love spending time with the team, obviously on the field, but away from the field. What are some of those things you've done or plan to do or like to do to build team culture, to build team chemistry? Because they're so important.
Yeah, definitely. I think it all starts with like having a really authentic relationship with your players, and being able to be authentic yourself, right? Like, who I am as a person is who I am as a coach. And I wouldn't know any other way to do it. And I think it's really, really important that your players feel comfortable being themselves. And otherwise, we're not going to make it very far if the relationships aren't built on that. So we do a lot at the beginning of the year to just sort of break the ice and get to know, whether it's the new first years or first years getting exposed to some of the seniors and upperclassmen with, we call them bio days, where they have 30 minutes to talk about themselves. I leave it open-ended, so they can talk about their family experiences. They can share photos or stories, anything. And it's really wonderful to get to listen to. It's one of my favorite days, in this, and just to see the direction they take it and what they share in those moments. So we have, so many different meetings that we really try to intentionally discuss what we want our team culture to be, and to revisit that and make sure that we're really intentionally working on it. It's not something that just happens. And I think that really sets us up for the spring, when some of those things get tested, right? And really maybe difficult matchups, or things that come up that maybe we weren't anticipating, things like that. So I think that, the prep work that we do in the first 6 months of really just building really authentic relationships, and of course, more like formal team meetings and exercises, that prepare us for the tests that are given in the spring, have really served us well over the last 2 years, and certainly will continue to evolve over the next foreseeable future too.
I will say, when I heard 30 minutes, I thought she was kidding. Like 30 minutes. How do you talk about yourself for 30 minutes? I know maybe 3. But I know all the girls end up having fun with it, but it must be daunting. It's a daunting thing to think about when.
And I think that's part of it too, right? Is their ability to get comfortable in those moments and being able to talk about themselves. And it's something that is, when you first present it to them, really uncomfortable for them. And it seems like a very big task, but like you're saying, they embrace it and take it and run with it.
This next one I really love, as it relates to softball, and it relates to life, of course, but tell me how you think about it.
Yeah, pay attention to the details. Like I'm saying, I couldn't tell you who originally, in this world has said it. I'm sure there's many, but I think of Ken Erickson. He's the head coach of University of South Florida, who's the head coach of Team USA for over 10 years, and most recently at the last Tokyo Olympics. And he wrote it every day on the top of practice plans that staff would see, players would see, and it just shaped every part of the University of South Florida softball program, and getting to be a part of it for 3 years really shapes me, as a coach, and how I approach everything: practice planning, forecasting a schedule, setting up, a meeting cadence, really anything, how you interact with your players. So I think I really value the mindset, and think it's important to emphasize to young people, 18 to 22-year-olds in your program, that the details matter, both in softball and in life. And softball is such an environment to be able to teach that because it's such a diverse skill set of sport, right? There's so many aspects of it that the details are so significant on every side of the game. So a lot of the practice work that we do, the prep work, the meetings, all of that, I'm always really intentional with the language that I use and the details that we're emphasizing, things like that, because it matters, right? And I think it's important to pay attention to.
It does. I wrote down two things as you were talking. One, you're very detailed from what I know about you, the emails that she sends out to the team communication and so forth. Very detailed, which shows which is great because, when I run the teams that we run and stuff, and you talk about with the young people, I mean, or your athletes, especially in the game of softball, when you talk about details, you're talking about your foot could have been here instead of here. I mean, little things, matter of inches, and the speed of it, especially at your level, just gets so much and so much that little detail is the difference between out, safe, win, loss.
Totally.
And so it's a dramatic thing. So I love that Coach Erickson would focus on that every day. I like that, right on the top of the practice sheet.
Yep.
Think about it. Can't forget it. I love it. What about if you were to say, maybe building on that, but any other additional life lessons, one or two life lessons that softball has brought you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, a sense of resiliency and being able to take things in stride, right? It's something that we also talk a lot about with our players, and being able to adapt. You've heard it said so many times that it's a game of failure, and being able to not let a moment go by, right, before you're able to adapt to something. And we talk a lot in terms of pitch by pitch, right? And I think that softball has and will continue to, given such a realm to practice your resiliency in life and adaptability. And I'm so thankful for the career that I've been able to have, both as a player and now as a coach, to hone that, right? There are very few moments in my life that I feel out of my depth, or in a crisis scenario, because I think as a sport, the softball arena just provides so much opportunity to test that. And I can think of so many moments in my life that I've failed at that, right? And been able to learn from it. But we try to challenge our players both in practice, and of course the game is going to challenge that, but to do it in practice, right? And be able to adapt that skill, because it is a skill, right? To be able to bounce back from a failure or a moment when something could have been better, right? And have the self-awareness to recognize that and be able to move forward from it. So certainly resiliency.
Such a big one. And you can tell a softball athlete, they struck out a couple times and they're so down on themselves. And you can tell them, hey, listen, if you are successful 3 out of 10 times, you're in the Hall of Fame is the quote that you'll hear all the times. And they'll be like, what do you mean? Because they're used to getting A's on all their tests or getting 100s or succeeding with everything. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in life. It certainly doesn't work that way in softball. So you have to be resilient. So let's go to quote number 6 here. What do you got?
Yeah, so this quote is, we're to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us. I think it's certainly something that's applicable in life, but adapted for an athletic perspective, I think it just really speaks to a sense of freedom, is the real sort of anchor that I take from this. Particularly at a school like Yale and Yale softball, we're a bit limited in scheduling, right? So for our team, we're going out 2 weeks later than the rest of Division I softball. We're a bit more limited in hours we can practice and things of that nature. So some of these early season moments and tournaments and competition, I'm purposefully putting them in situations where we're playing teams that are 15 games in and maybe have a bit more firepower and just reps right under their belt. And I think for me, this quote speaks to this sense of freedom or bravery, right? Like despite odds of something that I hope our players grasp, not only in softball, but in life, right? And a perspective to live with that feeling and almost cavalierness, right, to you that I think goes well beyond the softball field.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Question that I want to ping at you, just kind of thinking about it out loud. You mentioned softball and how Yale treats softball, but softball is growing like incredibly. We've watched the World Series over the last, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years and you longer. And it's so awesome. And then, you know, especially how it's grown and the fan support. Where do you think things are continuing to go in the next 2, 3 years? What about this NIL stuff? Is it creeping into softball?
Yeah, definitely. Gosh, it's so exciting to see at the college level the explosion, right, of popularity and ability to have more games on television, and just the really impressive broadcast numbers that the Women's College World Series pulls in year after year. You're starting to see that expand to midweek game series matchups throughout the year, and you have the Clearwater Invitational in February that pulls so impressive numbers on ESPN for softball. And I think that leads to more opportunities professionally, right? You have the Athletes Unlimited organization that has multiple sports, but with softball in particular this year, they're starting this new format for their pro league. And I think it'll just be a really exciting new endeavor, right, to watch, because I think over the last, 15 years, the pro league scene in softball has been pretty volatile, right? And a lot of sort of fractions between different smaller leagues and ability to play as independent teams and things like that. So I think it's really wonderful to see a league like this have the support and backing and just professional setup, right? And see the growth that it will, and impact that it will continue to have on the opportunities for women in softball. And something that I think we haven't seen done at this level just yet, right? And so I'm excited to see the league in its first season coming up this summer, but also the continued growth of it, right? And you talk about the NIL space and the college game, and gosh, it's an ever-changing landscape, within the NCAA right now. And I think you see so many teams adapting, both from a recruiting standpoint and you see, athletic departments really changing a lot of structure given the ever-changing landscape. So I think I'm really interested to see the changes continue to happen. I think it's a place like Yale. It's a school that obviously this, but in case listeners don't necessarily, there aren't athletic scholarships, right? So it's a little bit of a different realm, right, in this. So they can certainly pursue NIL opportunities, but it's a bit of a different, I'm not going to say untouched from what's happening in the NCAA, because we're certainly impacted, but perhaps not as significantly as some of these scholarship schools that are trying to navigate head counts and scholarship counts and things of that nature. So for me, I sort of have a little bit of a backseat, in being able to sort of see some of these changes play out. And my goodness, I'm intrigued where we're going to go from here in this. And I think there's a lot of, in the next 5 years, I think things will look a lot different than they do right now.
Yeah, you're right. The coverage on ESPN has been terrific, and elsewhere. I know other broadcast networks are starting to cover it, but the game coverage is terrific. The broadcasting booths, it's no longer 18th string folks calling games. I mean, they are calling great games. It has been fantastic. And the pro league, same thing. I know what you're saying. It's like let's start something. It didn't work. Start something. It didn't work. So really looking for something to hook in, grab on, like much like it has in the basketball arena. Really grab on and stick, and hopefully we're there a few years down the road. So the whole intention with 7 quotes was to mirror 7 innings, right? So now we're in the home stretch here. 7th quote, and it's a wonderful one that you're going to finish with from Maya Angelou. Too long to put on the screen, too big to put on the screen. So I'm going to ask you to do a favor and read it for us, if you would.
Definitely. I think it's a good quote to sort of round things out as well. So the quote is, "I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life goes on and it will be better tomorrow. I've learned that you can tell a lot about a person by the way he or she handles these 3 things: a rainy day, lost luggage, or tangled Christmas tree lights. I've learned that regardless of your relationship with your parents, you'll miss them when they're gone from your life. I've learned that making a living is not the same thing as making a life. I've learned that life sometimes gives you a second chance. I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with a catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back. I've learned that whenever I decide something with an open heart, I usually make the right decision. I've learned that even when I have pains, I don't have to be one. I've learned that every day you should reach out and touch someone. People love a warm hug or just a friendly pat on the back. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. And I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah, there you go. Like we could take that and unpack it and just do an episode about that quote. There's so much in there. Even the fact that the measure people how they react on three things: lost luggage, tangled lights. You could go crazy about those tangled Christmas lights. How do you handle that? How do you get through that? But yeah, that one at the end you see a lot. Just that last bit. People remember how you made them feel. That one really stands out. And that's certainly one of the biggest flaws, and you've probably seen this, and I'm guilty of it as a person and as a coach, is criticizing in public in front of everyone else. And it makes the person feel terrible. And I know I've done it, and I feel bad afterwards when I do it. So criticize in private, praise in public. And so we try to do that as well. Have you ever have those kind of feelings?
Yeah, I really do take the position and the impact that I have with such just reverence, right? And what I say, my goodness, it can really crush someone, right, within my program. And it can also put them on cloud nine, right? Stuff as simple as my facial expression, right? Or how quickly I come back and say something. So I am very aware, right, of the impact and magnitude that my interaction can have with a player or just staff member, right, in this. And I think it's something that young coaches learn hopefully quite quickly and see the magnitude of it, but it's certainly an ever evolving thing, something you need to keep at the forefront for sure.
Yeah, there's a quote from one of the coach out there that floats on the internet all the time about, when I was a young coach, I used sarcasm and I thought I was so funny, but then you finally realize, no, that's not work. That's not the way to do it. And so I know I've learned that one, and I love working with the kids. But as we start to wrap, two quick hitters for you. One, you're a coach, a lot of things in the mind. What keeps you up at night?
Gosh, depending on the time of year, some lineup combinations will keep me up at night, and trying to figure out the best combination of things. But I think the thing that really, keeps me up the most is just, am I doing right by the people in my program, at its base level? And that can look different depending on the time of year, who it is. It might be something as simple as, sort of what you hinted at, the doing right by someone in an interaction with them in a conversation, or it's as big as, did I craft the best schedule that I could, or what's going to optimize a practice plan and get the most done. So I really do try to anchor myself with that of how do I do right by the people in this program, in Yale softball. And I think that as a guiding light is a good thing that keeps you up at night. So not necessarily a negative.
Yeah. I can definitely keep the brain going. What about this one? I like this. What is something that maybe not too many people know about you?
Let's see. I would say that I don't think people quite realize in my personal life, I'm actually quite reserved and keep my cards very close to the vest. But as a coach, I don't think I necessarily, I don't think you can come across that way or have that dynamic with your players. But I do think that in my personal life, I am quite more introverted than people would guess.
I would not guess.
Here. And so I think it's just the nature of the job and recruiting and relationships with people. I certainly love it. And gosh, it very much fills my cup and getting to know people. But I think it also steers my relationship with players that I very much enjoy getting to know them in a one-on-one setting and, small groups, and same thing with recruits that are coming into this program. But left to my own devices, I'm a bit of an introvert.
Me as well. Me as well. Well, great, coach. Thank you. Obviously, so much for sharing so much. This has been great. I hope the show format kind of takes off. It's fun to do with. This will be fun to do with coaches from all around the country. Learn more about softball and softball
Definitely.
leaders and what makes them tick and keep the game growing. If you could do me a favor, share Yale's softball socials, other information, any parting thoughts. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to say thank you first. I think this is such a interesting idea and something that fills the gap of a sharing space, right? Of there's certainly, examples of sharing information about programs, but this really gets at the nitty gritty of sort of the people within the programs and what makes them tick. So thank you. This is such a neat idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing where else you go with it. But certainly Yale softball, we're off and running, and looking forward to a game later this afternoon. And then of course this weekend coming up, but we have, social accounts that are Yale softball. You can find us on Instagram, on Twitter or X, and be able to follow along with the season's progress, and of course get a behind the scenes look. We often do player takeovers and things like that that really give a glimpse of what it's like to be a Yale softball player and go to school, be a part of this program, and just a person within Yale softball. So certainly follow along there, and you'll be able to get a really good sense of the people in this program, which I think what matters most.
Yeah, those player takeovers always are fun, exciting, probably make you nervous. Like, what are they going to post next?
Oh man, they show
they
you that they're comfortable being who they are, and they don't hesitate to show their personality.
Yeah, they do a good job. All right, folks. Thanks again, Coach Laura. Folks, please do us a favor, like or rate the show or review it wherever you watch the episode or wherever you listen to it. Please do share it and spread the word so we can show and grow and reach more folks in the softball community. It is appreciated. Thanks, Coach. Till next time.
Thanks so much.